The question is that the motion be agreed to. I give the call to the member for Herbert.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. They say there's only a few times in your life where you will always remember where you were. People a little older than me will always know where they were when John F. Kennedy was shot. I will always remember where I was and what I was doing in the attacks on the World Trade Center. Equally, on the other side, there are things which are highly popular for a very short time and wane dramatically. Things like Gangnam Style, Achy Breaky Heart and the like. My dad attended the Centenary of Waltzing Matilda in Winton. Well, it was a fantastic time as we celebrated what is an icon of Australia. By the end of the week of the celebrations, they were running out of steam. My dad penned the following poem, sitting on the veranda of the Well-Shot Hotel in Ilfracombe, in relation to this idea of things running out of steam. She always was a scallywag with spirits hale and hearty, and when she heard about Winton, she headed for the party. She had the best time of her life. She partied night and day. But suddenly on Friday night, she upped and passed away. Now, it wasn't all the dancing or the drinking that had killed her, but the 1,000 times she had to listen to Waltzing Bloody Matilda. I don't say this to denigrate this great work or to be flippant or amusing about Anzac Day. I wanted to make this contrast between what can happen in our society and what we as a country have just witnessed in something very, very special. The Anzac Centenary commemorations of the Gallipoli landing will live with this country for a very, very long time. It was not just the sincere words spoken so strongly by our Prime Minister. It was not just the thousands of people who stood shoulder to shoulder all night in the cold to be on that soil in that sombre place, in that sombre service. It was the families who got up all over the country and attended dawn services commemorating the Centenary of Anzac. It was the community groups who worked together and used the 120,000 each electorate was given by the federal government, both governments, the previous government and this one. In my electorate, the committee was headed by Mick Riley, and he was ably assisted by Mick Johnson, Andrew Gissinger, Jan Power and Jeff Jimmerson. In every electorate, these people were the same. The names changed and they looked different, but they were the same people. They were the people who cared about their community and understood that this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to put on record our community's thanks for those who served our country in uniform and those who paid the ultimate price. In my electorate, we approved a research project, Between Battles, commemorating the cultural lives of soldiers, an interpretive exhibition, an exhibition of the military history on Magnetic Island, a theatrical presentation, Ginger Mick at Gallipoli, a website project by Pimlico State High School on the Anzacs of Townsville, and we made a strong contribution to the Anzac commemorations activities in Townsville in partnership with the Townsville City Council. It was the council workers, the police, the ADF personnel, the schools, the members of the local RSLs and the emergency service workers who all gave more than was asked to ensure that this day was very special, not just in the main service in Townsville but all around the region. The Prime Minister spoke when moving this motion about the massive crowd in Canberra that morning. I watched the news the following day where the size of the crowds around the country were a testament to the respect with which we hold the people who made this country what it is today. In Townsville, it was no different. The stage at Anzac Park is right on the marina, and those on the stage look away from the sea and towards the city. It's pitch black when you get there. You can't see the crowd at all. The girls of St Margaret Mary's Bella Voce Choir performed at their best, and the day started in perfect tune. The Cataflag Party, dressed in World War I uniforms, made their way into place, and Mick Johnson, who was the Master of Ceremonies, and the service started bang on time. Our Mayor, Jenny Hill, who served as a reservist and whose husband Shane served in the AIF, spoke of mateship and courage. This was surely the theme that was echoed around the country, but it was when she spoke of the Townsville's Keane family that the emotion of the day started to take its toll. My Mayor spoke of how the brothers, John and Michael, enlisted immediately. Both men, aged 20 and 18, saw action on the Gallipoli Peninsula, as the Mayor said. War is hell, and John was medically discharged in 1916, having suffered terribly in the trenches in the bitter winter fighting. Michael served at Gallipoli, Egypt and France. A third brother, Patrick, lied about his age, and when he was found out, he was already on a ship. Tragically, he died of Spanish influenza before he got to serve his country. Mayor said Michael would suffer from many illnesses endemic amongst our diggers and suffer the horrors of World War I. Jenny then said, like hundreds of thousands of others at memorials in cities, suburbs and towns across Australia, I join today to pay respect to Private Patrick Keane, his brothers and tens of thousands of Australian and New Zealand soldiers who served so valiantly for their country. John and Michael never recovered from the horrors of war, and today here, with their nephew, Alan Stevenson, we take pride in keeping their memories alive. It was truly a moving moment. Brigadier Roger Noble, commander of the 3rd Brigade in Townsville, spoke as all Townsville military leaders speak, with knowledge, pride, with a slice of originality. He opened his speech with these words, and I quote, "For 100 years, Australians have gathered to commemorate and remember the fateful landing at Anzac Cove. For 100 years, we have invoked the sacred commitment, lest we forget. Quickly, take a look around you, and you will see that we have been faithful to that original and enduring sacred promise. Think about that for a moment. Here we stand together, their sons, their daughters, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, their great-great-grandchildren, and many who had no direct personal link to them at all together, Australians, together." He went on the Centenary of Anzac is perhaps the most important to reflect on the meaning and purpose of Anzac Day. In a democracy like ours, it is both inevitable and positive that there is much opinion and speculation on this topic, as it should be. There is no one right reason or view on what it means and why it still matters. But to talk, to discuss, to analyse, to think and to care is the actuality of the act of remembrance that matters the most. It is the ultimate act of respect by citizens of a free country to those who have fallen in his name." End quote. He spoke of sacrifice, of being optimists even in the face of the absolute facts of their situation. He spoke of their example, not just as soldiers but as men, have led to an ethos which remains as strong today as ever. Perhaps the greatest compliment is from your enemy. Brigadier Noble quoted Field Marshal Erwin Rommel as saying, "If I had to take hell, I would use the Australians to take it and the New Zealanders to hold it." Just like every city in Australia, the First World War took a huge toll on our city. Brigadier Noble noted with solemnity that there were 165 names on our cenotaph from a total of 1,914 volunteers. That is from a city of only 13,000 people at the time. Every city and town in the country shares statistics like that. It is said that Anzac Day was not a government idea. It grew out of our communities. It is a grassroots, bottom-up approach which marks this day as special in our calendar, and so it should be. As dawn broke, we saw the extent of the crowd. As far as the eye could see, there were people. In the dark, they were silent, but as the day broke, they spoke so loudly of our commitment to those who don a uniform and serve our country. They stood shoulder to shoulder all the way up Melton Terrace to Cleveland Terrace. They stood shoulder to shoulder all the way down Intrabrook Pool on one side and past the Coral Sea Memorial towards the Criterion Hotel on the other. The council received funding to simulcast the service at Jazeen Barracks, and credit must go to the council and the private contractors such as Peter Jepson for making that a huge success. Later that morning, the main parade was reviewed by Brigadier Noble and Mayor Jenny Hill. The parade was led by Colonel John Simeone, pardon me, and as they started, they marched through an honour guard of Townsville school students. Every available soldier, sailor and airman and woman marched in front of our veterans groups, emergency service representatives and then the schools. It was a brilliant day. Today, to me, Anzac Day is about those who serve. Sure, it's about the ADF, but to me it's about those who wear a uniform and put themselves in positions I would never hope to be. As well as our Army, Navy and Air Force personnel, my city includes the police, ambulance, fire services. There are nurses, anyone who wears a uniform and works those sorts of hours and does what they want for us. There were nurses in our parade signifying the fact that the service was also behind the firing lines. So, The Centenary of Anzac is not a passing fad in my city or my country. It will not be forgotten in my city or country. It will not blur into a trivia question in my city or country. It will be something about which the people in Townsville will always take pride. It will be something about which the people in Australia will always take pride. I will always remember where I was for the Centenary of Anzac. I will always be able to remember what it was like to be there, representing the Prime Minister at the dawn service in Townsville. It is where I should be, in my garrison city, with the people who share the respect for those who paid the ultimate price 100 years, and those who have died in service since, and all who continue to put their lives on the line at home and around the world, keeping us safe and sound. I thank the Townsville RSL, the Townsville City Council and the people of Townsville for allowing me to be part of their day, part of our National Day of Remembrance, lest we forget.
I thank the member for Herbert.